Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. We're doing something a little bit different today. So I have filmed my ride from yesterday. It was just a normal flat work dressage ride with Beachy and I'm just going to talk you through what we got up to. So Beachy is a 5-year-old off the track thoroughbred. He is really green. He's been in work with me for about 4 weeks, I believe, if that. So we are super green, learning everything, basically just trying to get our transitions somewhat responsive, I guess. He has pretty natural self-carriage, and you will see that. So basically, we just start off walking. A normal warm-up for us is whatever rein I decide to start on. Just trying to get him responsive to the bit and my half halts. As you can see there, he does toss his head a bit and he tripped. He gets really bored really quickly. So he will toss his head if he's over something. We are also learning how to halt. When I first got him, he had 2 wolf teeth remaining in his mouth that I thought had been removed, but they had just been shaved down. So whenever I'd been asking for halt, he was in immense pain. So I got his teeth done and they got removed. So it's basically just teaching him that it's okay to halt and he's not going to be in pain anymore. So I just try and incorporate that into my walk, taking things pretty slowly. So not asking for any sort of collection or anything in the hold at the moment, just asking him that when my seat does this and my hands do this, it means to halt. He has also started being a little bit jig-joggy. Not too sure what that is about, but if he gets too excited or I'm not completely focusing on what we are doing, he will try and jig-jog. So yeah, then I just change rein and basically do all of that on the other side. I generally like to keep our warm-up for at least 5 minutes. Just to really try and get him bending and responding to me, and then I'll ask for a trot. So his transition there was actually relatively nice. He had a bit of a habit of throwing his head up whenever I'd ask for trot, so we are slowly trying to remove that. He is actually a really, really lovely horse to ride. I find that he holds his neck really, really lovely. It's just trying to get that consistency and getting him moving from his hind rather than from his front, which we are slowly getting to. I've added that trot pole or canter pole, the one pole in the middle of the arena basically, just to try and change things up a bit so it's not the same old flat work ride day in, day out, because we only have such a small area to ride and there's only so much you can really incorporate each day. So I just like to try and spice things up here and there. I generally try not to go around and around every single time. So, well, there's my dog, Ralphie. So I like to incorporate circles. I believe our circles are approximately 15 meters. Generally, I don't think they're 20-meter circles. So I like to make smaller circles and bigger circles just here and there. That was interesting. It's just, I love adding the pole as well to see how he'll go over the pole. So with his footing going into it, and then how he maintains his speed and stability after it. Just changing it up a little bit, because as you can see, he loses his contact a little bit and gets a little bit frustrated with himself. Little head toss, but then he comes back really, really nicely. I struggle a bit with keeping my outside rein consistent. So that is something that I personally am working on as well. And we do also struggle with keeping our inside flexion. So that was just a simple walk transition. Me probably trying to just catch my breath, to be honest. Bit unfit over here. And then a change of rein, a little bit of jig jog because he's a bit excited about what we're doing. So he was a little bit cheeky going onto this rein. As you'll see in a second, I was just trying to get a nice, steady, consistent walk and he would not stop jig-jogging. Could be because his paddock mate Lily is being lunged down to the left of us, or just because he's a 5-year-old and is a baby basically. So I just wanted him to get a little bit more responsive, so I asked for a halt there, not very abruptly and not very well. But he did that, so that is good. And then trying to get him to do a nice walk after that transition and not thinking that he's going to jet off in a trot every single time, because I think that's what he's gotten his thought pattern into, is that when you do a slight change in whatever you were doing, whether or not you move your legs or you move your hands, that means to go up a speed. So just trying to get him to relax. That was a terrible trot to walk transition, Ella. Good job. And just try and get him to wait for my next movement, essentially, which he eventually gets. He's a pretty quick learner, but he is a baby, so I've got to try and remember that. So we take it one step at a time. So he started to walk relatively well, actually listening for what I was doing. So I asked for a trot here. His transition was a little bit meh, but it is his worser rein to work on. Was relatively responsive. I'd like to get his head carriage a little bit lower, but it's really just trying to get him to work from his behind, as I said before, which hopefully we will get sooner rather than later, just so we can start building up that top line a little bit more. He's a pretty smart horse, so even though, yeah, like I keep saying, he's a baby, so he has those little look moments. He very, very rarely spooks. It's more just that he will have a baby. Oh my God, what's over there? Oh my God, my friend's over there. Oh, there's a bird over there kind of situation. That was super cute. He is really good with his legs. Actually, I shouldn't say that because the rest of our ride is a bit of a joke, but he's relatively pretty careful with what he steps over. So, like that. So it's just trying to get him to relax a little bit more. And try and get him listening just that tiny bit more rather than him rushing into it. A little bit more jig jog. I'm not sure why that has started. He never used to do it, but the past 3 rides I've had on him, he's been doing it. So who knows really? Maybe he's getting a little bit more energy and is a little bit more keen to work. That was a nice giraffe. Just tried to get him walking just a little bit more responsive and then into a nice trot, because I'd rather have a nice walk and then get a nice trot than to have a bit of an icky walk and expect the trot to be fantastic. I also love playing with his buttons a little bit, just seeing what type of trot I can get out of him at the moment. Still keeping it simple, but just seeing whether or not I can pull him back a little bit or extend that trot without him rushing off into Narnia, I guess. I don't know about you guys, but I personally love his movement. I know I'm biased because he is my horse, but I'm excited to see what the future brings for us. I'm not really sure what that was. Oh, he's slowly relaxing. I should mention that the part of the arena that I am coming to now and that entire long side is extremely uneven. So if you see him trip or struggling over there, it's because the sand is slightly thicker and deeper, and there's also uneven. It's just not flat. So it's really difficult to ride him, but I like to try and challenge him a little bit and try and get him going straight in that part, just so it makes it easier when we do have a really nice surface that he's slightly better on his feet, because if he isn't thinking and you're not pushing him forward, he will trip over his own feet. So that was a pretty nice canter transition, actually. Wow, I'm surprised looking at that. I remember the first time I rode him, I could not get him to canter slow. Like, he took off at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I must have looked like the biggest beginner. So we're working on it. He's still a little bit speedier than I would like, but he hasn't had a lot of canter recently, and Jesus Christ. So I put the pole a little bit too close to that long side, so it's really difficult to get a straight line or a somewhat curved line into it, but he does relatively well besides standing on it. Maybe I'll blame it on the fact that the pole isn't painted and it was half in the sand. He's also been extremely lazy recently, so he will fall out of canter like so easily if I'm not encouraging him with leg. and with my voice, but I've also got to be careful because I don't want him to be taking off. So I can't kiss going into canter, otherwise we launch ourselves. But I've got to make sure that I don't kiss too much during canter, otherwise, because he gets too excited. So that wasn't too bad. It was a bit of a launch, but it wasn't terrible. Just want that nice, slow, consistent, bouncy canter. And that was, oh God, Jesus Christ. Bye. Do I come back? Yeah, eventually. And I'm trotting. So that probably went terribly, but that's fine. I also don't ask for canter straight away because like I said before with the walk, I want a nice trot before I ask for canter. So it's taking us a little bit longer than it normally would. But we have been struggling with our canter to trot transitions because when we first would do them, he would throw his head in the air and basically use my reins to balance him. So we're just trying to keep his head down and trying to use his own body to balance himself. And we got the wrong canter lead. That's okay. So you're just trying to get him to balance his own body rather than him balancing on me, which helps when I slow my rising. But man, my thighs were getting sore. Did I mention I'm unfit? Like, so unfit. There we go. That was a lot nicer. Just has to have that right preparation. Oh, she's so cute. And I'm not even sure what happened there. Did he go over the pole? Not really sure. Oh, yep, bye. And we continue cantering, which is good though, which is what you want, because I do eventually want to start jumping him, so it's just trying to get him to listen to me. That was nicer. A little bit of a hop, skip and a jump, but it was nicer. See, he almost fell back into trot there. Oh, little bunny hop. There we go, that wasn't too bad. I think I asked for that trot transition, if I can remember correctly. Because I may or may not have been done. I've really got to work on my position when we go back into trot, because I can tell you right now my body actually dies. Like, actually dies. So because he did so well there, I'll let him walk for a little bit and then most likely go onto the other rein if I can remember precisely what I did. So he was walking relatively nicely, had a tiny bit of a break, so I asked for trot again so we can essentially do the same thing but on his right side. When I first started riding Beachy, his right side was his worst side, and then he got really, really good on his right side, and then after his accident, he ended up being worse on his right than his left, if that makes sense. So I'm a little bit still undecided of which side really he is better on. So we're just working on both. I guess the same amount just to try and get him supple on either side and as responsive on either side. Just trying to get a steady and somewhat simple ride. So we're still trying to work out that trot pole with where to put his legs, I guess at what point. It is on a bit of a funny angle at the moment because he knocked it, but I couldn't be bothered getting off and fixing it, so I just dealt with it and wasn't expecting fantastic results. So I thought even though his trot poles weren't fantastic, he was starting to trot nicely after the poles, so I thought I would do a long side, which we were really struggling to get straight, and then tried to do a bit of a canter transition. He launched himself a little bit, but he got the correct lead and a steady canter afterwards, so the transition itself I'm not too concerned about. And there was that lazy part that I'm talking about again. or he just falls into trot. So I just tried to get him back into canter straight away, which ended up with a bit of a yucky canter. So I'm not too happy with that decision. But what can you do? He was cantering relatively nicely. I just feel like he almost forgets that he has a hind end sometimes and kind of just leaves it behind. So like there, he knocks the pole. He just almost forgets about his bum. So I just need to get a little bit more impulsion and get him thinking about where he's putting his legs at what point. He's getting better. Still can't get that perfect distance, but I'm not exactly one to teach him how to do that either, because we are not jumpers yet. But that one was nicely, he actually kept himself together the entire time. So I'm happy with that. And then he trots. So I'm pretty sure I was going to let him stop after that one, but because he fell into trot, I got him back into canter, which is a relatively okay canter. I'm not unhappy with that one. I did one more pole. Just trying to get him thinking and then asking him to trot when I ask him to trot, rather than him just falling out. So he puts on the brakes a little bit too much going down, but then really struggles to balance. So it's just trying to get him to listen when he goes down. So he doesn't like going straight. He prefers to circle when he's in that rushy trot. So it just takes a second to one, get my muscles thinking, and to try and hold him together, and then to get his own body working. So he did that long side a lot better than the other one. He's still rushing that tiny bit and not really thinking or using his head, but it's getting there. It's just trying to get his mind on the job with my body able to back him up, which is hard when you're unfit, when you're both unfit. Oh, and I'm pretty sure that is me done. I was so dead after that ride. I can't explain how hard it is to bring him back into a nice trot after canter. It is so much effort. We'll get there, but for now I'm complaining because it exhausts me. So our cool down essentially isn't anything too fancy. Like the warm up, I like to keep it around the 5-minute mark. So because I was exhausted, I let him just walk. Just walk. Without any collection or thought about it. And then I asked him, started slowly bringing him back, seeing if he would offer any sort of relaxed, stretchy walk, or just to get him thinking a little bit while he was walking, just so he doesn't get bored and do the head tossing again. So I just cut out a bit of the walk because who really wants to see that? But after he's had a little bit of a walk, I think it's been around 3 minutes or so, I'll ask him for a few halt transitions. Like I said, not looking for anything fancy, just looking for a response in the right direction. So just got him to softly halt there, and then tried to get him walking off somewhat decently. And then I believe I asked for another halt transition there. Not fantastic, we're not square. You know, what can you do, I guess? But he's responding nicely, just to keep his mind thinking that little bit longer, but still letting him relax and just ease those muscles out of all that hard work that we have done. I then just cut out a bit more of that walk because it literally takes forever and no one wants to see 5 minutes of walk. So basically just repeated everything that I had done on the right rein, but do it on the left rein. So just getting him to chill out, walk, think a little bit, asking for a few halts, and then I'm pretty sure I just gave up. So we just walked for the sake of walking, just to get those muscles to relax. And that's pretty much our ride. That's what we did. So today's ride was about 20 minutes long. At the moment, that's generally where I like to keep it, unless he's working fantastically, and then or working really terribly, I guess. Either way, could go for it. But we'll work for that little bit longer, so probably around the 40-45 minute mark. He doesn't quite have the stamina to do any more than that. You'll see he gets really, really sweaty really quickly, so just got to try and build up that stamina, build up those muscles, and get him thinking. But other than that, that's basically our general dressage ride of what we'll do. I like to change things up, so I don't tend to do the same thing day in, day out. But for the time being, well, for yesterday's ride, that's what we got up to. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and if this is something that you want to see again, I'd be happy to film it. I wouldn't mind doing these somewhat frequently, maybe every second week or something like that. I don't know. Let me know what you guys thought. I love to hear your comments in the comment box below. Wow, that made no sense. Oh well, I better go. All right, bye.